When you hear the word entrepreneur, what image comes to your mind? A figure on a stage commanding the spotlight? A headline announcing a valuation? A breakthrough product poised to dominate the news cycle? A confident voice speaking of vision, grit, and destiny? But that moment, the moment we celebrate, is only the final scene of a rags to riches genre. What we rarely see are the years of blood and sweat, the uncertainty, the rejection, the financial pressure, the sleepless nights, the broken plans, and the long sequence of experiments that quietly failed. Behind almost every trump lies someone who stepped towards an opportunity without the capital, without influential networks, without the perfect team, technology, or timing. And yet, they began. So what is entrepreneurship really? Is it a profession, a mindset, a journey, or an entrepreneurial imagination? The courage to begin before the world believes you are ready. To explore this, I'm delighted to welcome back Rear Admiral Dr. Khandakar Akthar Hussein to discuss his paper, Assessment of Global Great Entrepreneurs' Life, Lessons for New Entrepreneurs for Success in the 21st Century, published in the Norwegian Journal of Development and International Science. Professor Hussein is the Vice Chancellor of Bangladesh Maritime University and former Assistant Chief of Naval Staff Material of Bangladesh Navy. But what makes him especially suited to today's conversation is his experience in transforming ideas into functioning system, where vision must meet plans, plans must gather people and resources, and leadership is tested not by comfortable theory, but by uncertainty, risk, and execution. The depth of experience, the technical mastery, and the herd and wisdom Admiral Hussein carries were forged in the heavy industries, leading Khulna Shipyard Limited, Naranganj Dockyard and Engineering Works Limited, and Chittagong Dry Dock Limited. These are places where steel meets strategy, where engineering becomes leadership, and where the realities of industrial leadership test every assumption a founder or institution builder might hold. He has published more than 250 journal articles in various domains of studies, and also having 40 books on Amazon. Admiral, Vice Chancellor, and CEO, it is a privilege to welcome you once again to Intellectual Adda on Creativity Cafe.
Thank you, Dr. Moin. I really enjoy your creative and thought-provoking Adda, but you always talk very high about me. I am still a learner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. It's fascinating to have you in my Intellectual Adda. Today, we are going to discuss your paper, as you know. So, I find that your paper offers a rare window, a sneak peek into the hidden lives of entrepreneurs. And today, we want to bring some of those entrepreneurial gems into light for my audience. So let's begin with a deeper question, Admiral. Beyond starting a company, beyond the pitch deck, and beyond the product launch, what does it truly mean to become an entrepreneur?
Wonderful thinking. Entrepreneurship begins with searching and looking for an opportunity that others may have overlooked and accepting responsibility for pursuing it. One influential definition describes it as the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources currently controlled. That is important because most founders do not begin with everything they need. They may possess an idea, some knowledge, personal relationship, and a limited amount of capital. But they must gradually mobilize people, finance, technology, and industrial support. Entrepreneurs are ready to solving hard problems, taking bold risk, and building value for others. It is a way of thinking and living that goes far beyond owning a business. The customers buy solution to real problems, not just because a founder loves the idea. Running out of money kills a business faster than a lack of enthusiasm. Stubbornly sticking to a failing idea due to emotional attachment prevent necessary pivots. Entrepreneurship is therefore both imaginative, practical, and having a courage to do something innovative. Imagination allows the entrepreneurs to envision a different future. Disciplined executions convert that possibility into value. It also involves experimentations. Ad entrepreneurs develop assumptions about customers and problems, test those assumptions, and revise their approach when evidence challenges them. The core mindset of entrepreneurs are problem solving, risk taking, resilient ownerships, adaptability, visions, execution, and service. I can give some famous entrepreneurs like Thomas Edison, who invented the practical bright light bulb and built the system to power whole cities, or Henry Ford, who made cars affordable for regular peoples by using modern assembly line, or more profoundly, Walt Disney, who created an entire media empire out of simple hand-drawn cartoons and family-themed parks. A person who merely copied an existing activity without creating new value may own a business, but entrepreneurial leaderships require something more: opportunity recognitions, innovations, calculated risk, and determination to organize resources around a meaningful purpose. So, entrepreneurial leaderships require creating new values and driving innovations and transforming markets rather than just running an existing copycat business. True entrepreneurial leaders build distinct visions and solve unique problems. Dr. Moin.
Fantastic, fantastic, Vice Chancellor. Wow, I was so amazed the way you were explaining. You have covered everything. That's a very, very comprehensive perspective about entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurs. You talked about vision. You talked about not just copycat. You talked about taking risk. You talked about seeing things that is not yet above the horizon. These are very, very powerful. But what really, really I liked that you have redefined some of the roles. Many people, they used to think that Thomas Edison or Henry Ford, they are just the scientist doing experiment in the laboratory. But today you redefine their identity. You just said that, well, these are the people, these are the characters on the world stage. not just playing one role. They are changing their hats. So sometimes they are wearing the hats of a scientist, sometime engineer, sometime entrepreneur. So that is actually the beauty of human being, that they are playing multiple roles in their life. And we have differential excellence. Everybody is good in certain thing, and we need to pursue that. So that's really fascinating. Vice Chancellor, it takes me to the next question, and that is about, are entrepreneurs born or made? So do successful entrepreneurs possess natural gift, or can entrepreneurship be learned?
So this is such a question. There's no state answer. Let's say think like that way. Successful entrepreneurships is a blend of both innate personalities or qualities and learned skill. However, some natural inclination provide a head starts. Core business abilities are actively developed through experience, educations, and practice. So we may say some people naturally display confidence, curiosity, competitiveness, or a higher tolerance for uncertainty. And those qualities may give them an advantage, but they do not guarantee entrepreneurial success. The paper's border assessment support the view that entrepreneurs are largely developed through education, experience, and mentoring, professional networks, or experiments and reflection. Actually, entrepreneurial self-confidence grows when individuals act, learn, and discover that they can influence outcomes. Industry knowledge improves their ability to recognize valuable opportunities. Mentors help them avoid preventable mistakes, while failures develops judgments that cannot be acquired or acquired through textbooks alone. Interestingly, mentors and failures both help people to grow by teaching valuable life lessons. Mentors stop you from making hard mistakes, while failures build strong personal judgments. The environment also matters. A young person who is always pushed for questionings, experimenting or making mistake, make learn to avoid risk. By contrast, environments that encourage initiatives and responsible experimentation help develop entrepreneurial capability. It builds entrepreneurs. That's capability by giving peoples the freedoms to try new ideas, learn from mistakes, and grow their skills safely. For example, the Ray Krocs, who grew McDonald's into a giant business. He started late in life at the age of 52 and studied the restaurant system carefully. Or we may say Howard Scholes, who built the Starbucks. He studied Italian coffee shops on a trips and brought that idea back to America. Very profound example is the Elon Musk, who lead Tesla and SpaceX. He taught himself the rocket science and software design by reading books and talking to the experts. So there are many who believe that an entrepreneurs must possess the personality traits like vision, the passions, innovations, courage, and drive that and inborn and cannot be taught. Others argue that the skills or evaluating opportunities, motivating peoples, and operating a business are easily accepted on to keen students looking to the entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs are therefore neither entirely born nor mechanically manufactured. Entrepreneurs are a mix of inborn qualities and learned actions, blending natural drive with developed business skill. Potentials may begin with personality, but capability emerges through disciplined practice. So entrepreneurship is better understood as a developmental journey in which character, competence, skill, and judgment are progressively formed. Dr. Moin, what you think?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. That was fascinating. Fascinating. You covered a lot of ground. You covered a lot of ground. Some of the things I really liked, and I want to sort of summarize for my audience. I liked when you said that entrepreneurial self-confidence grows. It grows when individuals act, learn, and discover that they can influence the outcome. So you just showed that the confidence comes not automatically, but when we take risk, when we take action, when we make mistake, when we learn, and when we discover the potential within us, that we can influence the outcome. And you were very specific. I was taking notes actually as we were talking. You talked about the industry knowledge. And you clearly said that how industry knowledge is going to help them by improving their ability to recognize viable opportunities. Then you talked about mentors, because they can help them avoid the preventable mistakes. They can advise, because these are the people who have got experience. They've gone through the same scenarios. You also talk about the role of failure, because that develops the judgment, and that cannot be acquired just through reading books. So that was really so powerful. And you also talked about the environment, because when I was reading entrepreneurial books, and then sometime I bring these ideas into classroom, sometime I ask my student that, okay, which company is better? Is it a company who says that we like people to come up with bad ideas, or we like people to come up with excellent ideas? And many times that, okay, we like people who come out with excellent ideas. But when you say that, when you ask people to come up with excellent ideas, you see, many people will think that, well, my ideas are not good enough. But if you say that, come up with bad ideas, then the fear is eliminated and more ideas come. But what I particularly liked, Admiral, is the example that you talked about. You talked about Howard Schultz, because I'm a storyteller. So I think for my audience, I would like to add just one thing, that how storytelling or ability to tell a story also contributes a lot to the success of entrepreneurs. So when Howard Schultz went to Milan and he found that people are celebrating around a coffee table, they are talking, they're having fun, they're enjoying, but around a coffee. And yes, he expressed this experience and shared with his, the employee and with his customer. And he told the story like this, even during an interview with Oprah Winfrey, that it was a moment of epiphany. I walked in and saw this symphony of activity, and the romance, and the theater of coffee, and the theater that creating an experience of community. That's what I want to bring to America. So really, I appreciate the way you answered your question, because it has not only given me the knowledge about entrepreneurship, but it has also taken me back to some of the times when these movers and shakers were making a difference into the world. So, Vice Chancellor, let me ask you my next question. Many aspiring founders say, I have an idea, but I do not have money. Can entrepreneurship genuinely begin with limited resources? What do you think?
Yes, it frequently does. Many founders begin by bootstrapping, using their own times, personal savings, skills, and relationship while keeping expenditure extremely low. It means funding a new business using personal saving, early customer sales, and cash flow instead of outside money. Founders use this path to keep full control, focus on real buyer, and avoid outside money. Founders use this path to keep full control, actually, and try to avoid away company shares. This approach forces them to distinguish between what is essential and what is merely desirable. However, it is entirely possible to start a business without money. History is filled with stories of major companies that begins in a garage or a home office, that is Apple, and success depends more on your business plan, your work ethics, and your ability to solve a problem for customers than the initial amount of cash you have. But it has few challenges like slow growth, personal risk, hard work. Limited resource can sometimes produce creative discipline. A founder may begin with a minimum viable product, test a demand with a small group of customers, and improve the offering before committing significant capital. However, we should not romanticize scarcity. High potential venture may eventually require production facilities, specialist talent, and distribution network, technology, working capital, or external investment. The essential lesson I want to say is that founders should not wait until every resource is available. They should begin by creating evidence and evidence that a genuine problem exists, that customers value the proposed solutions, and the team can execute responsibly. Responsibly, they should act. I can give an example like Yan Kuang, the co-founder of WhatsApp, grew up on food stamps. He bought a cheap used phone to start his business, and later he sold his business for billions. So money usefully flow, reduce uncertainty. An idea alone rarely attracts lasting support. A tested idea, credible teams, clear agreements, and evidence of customers' value create a much stronger foundations for mobilizing resources. Dr. Moin.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. That's really a profound answer. And I can see that our audience are getting immense value out of it today. So what I like particularly when you said that this approach forces them to distinguish between what is essential and what is merely desirable. So all those insights that you are bringing today, I think this is immensely valuable for the students, those who are aspiring to become manager or entrepreneur. But at the same time, the managers or the people operating in the industry, those who want to take bigger risk and become successful entrepreneurs, as well as managers who are working for the entrepreneurs. So I think this is a fascinating conversation, Admiral Akthar. So I'm going to ask you the next question. I understand that today, to be honest with you, the paper that I was reading, your paper, it's so good and so profound. I believe that it's not possible to finish actually or complete the understanding of that was put into the paper in one episode. So we will definitely look for making another episode, provided you have the time for my audience. But let me ask you the next question for the moment, which is, why do many intelligent people with apparently strong ideas still fail as entrepreneurs?
Actually, entrepreneurship is so vast a subject, and so much example is available in the world. So it's a good idea. Let's say we go for the second episode. About your questions, I want to say this is the brilliant observations. A
Okay, yeah.
venture, yeah, actually a venture can fail even when the idea appears attractive because entrepreneurial success depends upon an entire systems. There may be insufficient customer demands, weak timings, inadequate finance, and poor communications, disagreements among founders, and unsuitable business model or an inability to attract the people required for executions. Many smart people fail as entrepreneurs because they lack market demands, poor execution skill, and an ability to adapt. Strong ideas alone cannot overcome bad timing, weak teamwork, or ignoring what customers actually want. Founders sometimes comes emotionally attached to their original idea and interprets the persistence as refusing to change. But persistence should protect the missions, not every details of the initial plans. Evidence may require the products, markets, or delivery models to evolve. Execution risk is particularly important. A visionary founders who cannot form a capital team may be unable to convert intentions into performance. The financial discipline alone matter because rapid growth can destroy a business when cash flow, cost, and operational capacity are poorly managed. Four major reasons for failures are, I want to say, ignoring the market, poor executions, lack of flexibility, finally, market or making the product or business model too complex for regular users to understand. I can give an example like the Adam Newman. He had a bold visions for office space, but he ignored basics, money rules, and fast grow risk. So failure is therefore rarely explained by one dramatic mistake. It often emerges or it emerges from several small weakness interacting over times. So the successful learn to examine the whole system rather than searching for one person or even to blame, I want to say. Dr. Moin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. That was such a profound answer. I mean, I'm telling this thing time and again, but to be honest with you, I mean, I have to be honest because you covered all the details, but you have also given invaluable insights. I particularly liked when you said that sometimes visionary leaders can also fail if they are not capable of forming a team that is required to deliver. So you are saying there here that it's not just a game of one hero who will make the magic, because you need many people. You need a team to win together. You also talked about financial discipline. I mean, you are bringing the another domain, another discipline. So people should understand that actually there are a lot of things to learn as well. And in your previous, in the previous question, when you were answering, you also highlighted the need for reading. You gave examples of Elon Musk, reading books and learning from others. So
Yes.
learning is not just sitting in the classroom or acquiring the degree. There are many ways to learn as well. So somebody might think that, okay, well, I cannot gain the financial knowledge because I have not gone into the university. But there are books, there are videos, there are people
And
to ask.
experts.
Yeah, experts. So yeah, these are very important. And one thing you just said that really touched my heart, because you said that sometimes they cannot find out the simple solution. They make the solution very complex. And it reminds me, it took me back to couple of years before when I was reading a book called The Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And in that book, there was an example of Steve Jobs. And when Steve Jobs came back, I mean, to Apple in his second term from the Pixar. So you can see the iPhone. So he demonstrated that, look, this is such a sophisticated computer, but it starts by pressing only one button and everything is easy. So the example that you have given, the kind of finding the simple solution is very, very important, because simplicity is the ultimate elegance, which is again a statement of Steve Jobs. And I think, Admiral, that brings us to the next question very, very well. And my next question, and possibly this is the final question for today, is about failure. So people often say that entrepreneurs should embrace failure, but failure can be costly and painful, as you know. When does it genuinely become a source of learning?
Great question, great questions. Failure becomes valuable only when it is examined honestly. And repeating the same mistake without reflection is not resilience. It is avoidable worst. Entrepreneurs must ask what assumption proved incorrect, which warning signals were ignored, what customers actually communicates, and what should be changed before the next attempts. Failure genuinely become a source of learning only when you analyze the root causes, test a clear hypothesis, and apply those exact insight to your next steps. It fails to teach anything when the mistake stems from careless execution or lacks a deliberate review process. So failure can expose weakness in the products, a team, timing, or a founder's own judgments. It can also build emotional maturity. A person who has experienced disappointments may become less attracted to uh, apples, or it may be more attentive to evidence. When we see failure as just a part of the process and can let go for our tendency to avoid things that might result in mistakes, we limit growth and often doom ourselves to repeat the same negative feedbacks loop with the next things we try to do. However, learning from failure does not mean celebrating irresponsibility. Actually, risk should be calculated, ethical boundaries respected, and potential harm considerable. The purpose of the experimentation is to learn at the lowest reasonable cost. There is only one way thinking about failure is helpful to us: when we analyze it and use it as a way to improve so that we succeed in the future. Thinking only about the failure and the accompanying negative self-talk and doubt has no value to us. We must take what we learn and use it to improve. And this is the only value it has to us. The paper, about you have talked, the repeatedly present entrepreneurships as a long journey rather than a overnight success. Those who ultimately succeed often experience setbacks, but continue with greater knowledge, better judgment, and renewed disciplines. I want to give an example or excellent example. Again, whenever you talk without mentioning the man, the Steve Jobs, it is or remain incompleted. So when Apple fired him in 1985 after a power struggle, he fell humiliated and lost his life works. He later returned to save the company, but the failure cost him years away from Apple. Failure becomes entrepreneurial capitals when it lessons are converted into wiser action. Only then failure is useful for a entrepreneur. Thank you, Dr. Moin.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. That's really a very good example. And I really liked that you brought Steve Jobs because it's very difficult actually to complete a discussion on entrepreneurship without Steve Jobs take one of the central role. So, I mean, I can see that also, I mean, some of the things that you have said also aligns very well with storytelling and narrative art because I'm an academic of storytelling. So you said that it's a long journey rather than overnight success. So yeah, storytelling is also something like that, a character going through challenges, but transformed at the end. So they go through, the rising action where they face a small challenges and they face the bigger challenge during climax. But the insight they develop when they face a small challenges that help them to perform well while they are in the climax. And Steve Jobs not only learned leadership or become a transformational leader through his journey, but also he developed the art of storytelling. And the more time passes, he mastered it. And possibly he was one of the best corporate storytellers in the world. So I want to give an example here is that when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, and Apple was really struggling at the brink of bankruptcy, and that is the moment they invented iPod. But it's not just the iPod. At that time, I mean, the Sony was very successful. And Sony Walkman was very popular because people were wearing the Walkman and they were dancing in the road, as they go sometime in the beach. But see how Steve Jobs introduced the product. He said that, well, there are 1,000 songs in this iPod. So you go to moon and you come back. So he was taking the audience to the moon, the customers, and come back. He said, all the way you are listening your music, but your music library is not exhausted. But again, he said that, well, the song that you insert inside, these are MP3, which means the download is very fast. So if you have to download the whole Library of Congress in MP3, it will only take 10 minutes. So now you see that how quickly you can download it. So this is, you say that also, it's a library of music inside your pocket. So this is what is important, the way the entrepreneurs, they tell stories. They not only sell the product, they sell experience, they sell hope, they sell, the future that we cannot see. So that is what is, but they go through the challenges, they face the pain, and the beneficiaries are the customers. That's why entrepreneurs are respected. So, Vice Chancellor, that was fascinating. Thank you very much for sharing generously your invaluable insights and wisdom.
Thank you, dear Moin, and your learned audience. I really enjoyed this, Adda. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. So this is going to be the end of part one. And dear audience, in part one of our conversation, what I have learned is that behind the visible success stories, there are small plot, and we could see those plot through the help of today's guest, Admiral Akthar. We have seen that entrepreneurship rarely begins with perfect condition. It begins with courage to pursue an opportunity. Despite limited resources, uncertain outcomes, and the possibility of failure. But recognizing an opportunity and surviving failure are only the opening chapters of the entrepreneurial journey, which I learned when I read Admiral Akhtar's paper. So the deeper questions now emerge. How does an entrepreneur sustain passion without losing discipline? When does confidence hardens into stubbornness? Can technology strengthen a venture or distract it from the customer? Why do teams, trust, and honesty matter so profoundly? And ultimately, how should entrepreneurial success be measured? But these are the questions awaiting us in part 2, building beyond the idea, discipline, technology, trust, and the entrepreneurial legacy. We are looking forward to have another Intellectual Adda with Vice Chancellor, Admiral, and CEO, Akthar Hussein. Thank you for joining us today. If you like our Adda, please like, share, and subscribe, and continue with us into part 2. Goodbye.